All right. Good morning to one and all of you guys. In this particular module, we are primarily going to, create a sandbox. Okay. So I believe we have just as a quick recap. This is actually, the part of the series related to our Active Directory connector installation, where we downloaded the connector installables into OIM machine, and then we validated the connector objects, and then we downloaded the Active Directory connector server and installed it on the AD machine, and we then went ahead and created the, or probably I would say uh, move those connector installables into the connector server home directory, and then set the connector server key, and then we saw how to configure the IT resource parameters for both the AD and the connector server, and then we finally ran a couple of scheduled jobs in OIM, uh, and then we verified whether the lookup definitions specific to groups and OUs were reconciled from Active Directory. So and now we are a few more steps away. Okay, so we have to create an application instance, which is nothing but the provisionable entity. Okay, so before we create the application instance, we have to be associating of, okay, while we create the application instance, we have to be associating a form, a process, application instance form, or I would say a form. Okay, so form is nothing but it is where all the the user attributes would be stored. Okay, so in order to associate the form, we would have to create a sandbox. Okay, so sandbox is primarily uh, temporary storage location wherein we can do all the customizations in OM. Okay, it's a kind of where all the metadata objects can be modified without actually affecting the other users. So whenever you want to add any user attribute, or whenever you want to customize a UI form and all that, you will be first creating a sandbox and then doing the changes, and then after you confirm that all the changes appear to be okay, then you publish the sandbox to be visible to all the users. Okay, so we will first create and activate the sandbox in order to create the form. Okay, so I'm going to quickly create a sandbox. Okay, let me just quickly log into the system admin console. Okay, and then we will create the sandbox. So creating the sandbox is going to be pretty straightforward. You just give the name, the display name field, and then you just check the option saying like activate the sandbox, and then you're good. That's it. So this module is going to be have to be pretty short and crisp. So let me quickly log into the console here. Okay, so ideally, the sandbox can be created both in the sandbox can be created both in the identity self-service console and the system admin console. Okay, but after this particular module, since we are going to create the form and all that, I'm going to use the system admin console. Okay, so on the top you see the sandbox here, and then once you click on the sandbox, as I mentioned, you just give the name. Yeah. So since I'm going to create a form after this particular module, and the form I'm going to be, linking it with the application instance for our Active Directory one. So I just give the form related to it. Okay. So AD sandbox. Okay. I just give the sandbox description, and then the activate sandbox option is already checked. So I just click on save and close. And then now it says sandbox has been created. Okay. So whatever customizations we do after this, okay, um, the sandbox would be active here. Okay, so right now, whatever changes that we are going to do will all be happening in this particular sandbox. And then once the changes are published, we'll be publishing the sandbox. Okay. So just for instance, probably I should have started the module just by clicking on the form designer. Okay. So this is where we actually create the form. Okay. Uh, so form, as I mentioned, we have this process form and all that, which we'll be talking in the subsequent module. So if I clicked on this form before creating the sandbox, I would have got the message saying like the forms can be it would have allowed me only after the sandbox is published, or only after the sandbox is active. Okay, so right now, since the sandbox is already active here, I should be able to do that. Okay, maybe I can just quickly I can quickly give you a small yeah. So right now I'm able to create the form. So if I just sign out, okay. So as I mentioned, the sandbox, it you'll be using for this UI customization whenever you want to rebrand your logo, a console, replacing the Oracle logo with the customer logo, and whenever you want to add any user-defined fields at customized attributes and all that. So all those cases you'll be using this particular sandbox. Okay. And you can actually add any attributes, like the fields can be of the text type or the lookup fields or anything related to that, or whenever you want to add any attribute to the catalog page, all the whatever you think about the customizations. Okay, so right now I've just logged out and my sandbox is not active. I'm just going to click on the form designer here, okay, just to show you why we are whether OIM would allow me to create the sandbox. So even if I click on this and if I try to click on create, so ideally it should pop up with a message saying like it can be done only with the sandbox. See, it gives me a warning saying like customizations are only allowed when a sandbox is active. Please activate the sandbox. So that is why we activated the sandbox, and that's the end of this module, guys. So thank you.